Jai Shree Swaminarayan, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Durga Devi, Jai Hanumanji, Jai Ganeshji. This is a continuing recording, a continuing series of talks on some of the controversial topics regarding Shree Swaminarayan and some of the scriptures and some other things related to that. So we're continuing from the last recording regarding the emphasis placed on Bhagwan Sri Krishna in the Shikshapatri. So we were continuing to talk about that, and when you look at the Shikshapatri, what do we see? We see very clearly that the name of Sri Krishna Bhagwan is used again and again and again. Swami Sajanand has given unequivocal direct agnya to worship Bhagwan Krishna in the Shikshapatri. Nobody can argue against that. Anybody tries to argue against that, they're just, twisting the Shikshapatri. So the Shikshapatri does not need to be twisted. Let's look at it as it is so that we can understand it in its completeness, in its thoroughness. And then on that basis, the entire form of Bhagwan Swaminarayan or Swami Sajanand, who he actually was, can be understood. But without the basis of the Shikshapatri, there will be a massive disconnection with the Sanatana Dharma. And that has happened. It has happened even right now, and it is continuing to happen for a variety of different reasons. And I will try to explain that, carefully, step by step. All right, so let's go into it now. So the question was that in the Shikshapatri, Swami Sajanand has given Agnya to worship Krishna. You will notice that there is no Swaminarayan mantra in the Shikshapatri. You will also notice that even though he has talked about, to be one with Brahma, meaning he has stated Nijatmanam Brahmarupam. He has stated that. But it doesn't mention any particular name of any particular saint like Gunatitanand Swami or Gopalanand Swami or Nishkuranand Swami or anybody inside there who is considered to be an incarnation of Akshara Brahma, which is believed to be there. Like many people believe that Gunatitanand Swami is incarnation of Akshara Brahma. No such thing is mentioned in the Shikshapatri. So we will get to all that later on. But just understand what is mentioned in the Shikshapatri first, that the Shikshapatri is the actual Agnya given by Swami Sajanand about what to do for his disciples. He says that he clearly states that those who are his disciples, those who are his devotees, those who are his shishyas, those who are following him, must follow these 212 commandments. There are 212 Agnya. Agnya meaning he's asking them to follow this if you are following Swami Sajanand. This is very clearly written in the Shikshapatri. So I would request all of you to first read the Shikshapatri in its original Gujarati language. And its original translations are available into English. Good translations are available. And there are a lot of websites that have them. My website also has some links to that. So if you go through it, you will see that that is the case. You will also see in the Shikshapatri that there is a clear Agnya given to worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan. And the temples that were built by Swami Sajanand all have the forms of Bhagwan Krishna and Shri Radhaji. They all have them, each and every one of them. Some are in the form of Narnarayan, Lakshmi Narayan, Radha Krishna, and then he has also stated in Shikshapatri that they should not be considered as different, that God is one. So you will see that's another point of monotheism that is emphasized in the Shikshapatri. So Shikshapatri is the direct Agnya of Swami Sajanand. So now, if you look at the Shikshapatri, he's saying to worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan. Now, if you look at the sampradaya that is there today, the 40 plus branches, and the historical development of the sampradaya, nobody actually worships Sri Krishna Bhagwan. I mean, there's murtis there. There are Some artis are done. There are utsavs that are celebrated like Janmashtami. But the actual upasana of Sri Krishna Bhagwan is, I don't believe anybody is actually doing that in the Sampradaya today. So why is that? So that's another question. We'll get to all that. But the question would become, if Swami Sajanand has given this direct agnya to worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan using the Ashtakshar mantra, right? The Ashtakshar mantra is Sri Krishnam Tvam Gatir Mama, or Sri Krishna Tvam Gatir Mama. Either way, you can say that. But I think it's Sri Krishnam Tvam Gatir Mama. So that is Ashtakshar mantra. And that was given by Ramanand Swami also. That was actually given by I believe it was given by Ramanujacharya to Ramanand Swami. From Ramanand Swami to Sajanand Swami. So, and then also in Shikshapatra you will see that Maharaj has accepted the Vedantic vision of Vishishtadvaita of Ramanujacharya. So that Ramanujacharya's vision of Vishishtadvaita is in the Shikshapatri. And Shriji Maharaj has accepted that over Shankaracharya's vision. Again, the Guru Parampara is from the Shree Sampradaya. So that goes back to understanding the Guru Parampara. Sajanand Swami's Guru was Ramanand Swami. Ramanand Swami's Guru was Shripad Ramanujacharya, who gave him Diksha in the dream. And Ramanujacharya is from South India, and he is the propagator of Vishishtadvaita, and that Sampradaya started from Shri, that is called Lakshmiji or Mahalakshmi. So the Shri Sampradaya, that is actually Swaminarayan Sampradaya, or what is called Uddhav Sampradaya, Swaminarayan Sampradaya, is actually an offshoot of the Shree Sampradaya. The Guru Parampara, original Guru is Mahalakshmi. This is a fact. This is an unequivocal, basic fact. So the Shree Sampradaya, or Shree Sampradaya, is the foundation of Swaminarayan Sampradaya. That is the link actually. And the Shikshapatri is the link with the Sanatana Dharma. Anybody who tries to discard Shikshapatri, this is my opinion, is making a massive, massive, massive mistake. In fact, it is harming the Sampradaya even today. It is harming the Sanatana Dharma also, and causing massive amount of confusion. Now, this type of confusion must be resolved somehow. Because what do you see in the Sampradaya today? We see most of the organizations, if not all of them, emphasizing Bhagwan Swaminarayan or the Guru, whoever the Guru might be. There's a lot of emphasis on that. And again, various Guru Paramparas. You don't really see anybody advocating the following of the Shikshapatri as it is written. Swami Sajanand has said to worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan. Nobody does that. Point number one. Hardly anybody does that. I don't believe anybody does that actually. Second point is that most of the people consider Swami Sajanand as the Ishtadev, right? So we'll get to all this later on. But if you look at the situation now and where the controversies come about, they come about for these reasons. The other point is that the emphasis away from Sri Krishna Bhagwan onto Swami Sajanand is a big topic of discord and controversy for most of the people outside the Sampradaya. So the biggest criticism, one of the biggest criticism is that Swami Sajanand has clearly stated that his Ishtadevata is Radha and Krishna, Bhagwan Krishna. He's given Agnya to worship Krishna. He's clearly stated to worship Krishna. Read the eight scriptures that he has accepted, which includes Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. He's even said that the Pancham Skand, the Dasam Skand of Srimad Bhagavatam needs to be read by everyone. Who is doing that today in the Sampradaya? I'm asking you this question. Maybe some people are doing it, but the fact is, how much of the Shikshapatri is actually being followed? So, and because, in my opinion, there's a tremendous amount of diversion away from the Shikshapatri, there is a lot of disconnection with the actual Sanatana Dharma or the Vaishnava Dharma. And because of that disconnection, there is a great deal of misunderstanding about the teachings of Swami Sajanand. Maharaj himself wrote the Shikshapatri, and this is my opinion now, to connect the disciples, his disciples with the Sanatana Dharma properly, also to bring people into the Sampradaya from other places into the Sampradaya while maintaining the connection with Sanatana Dharma. And on that basis, now listen to this carefully, on that basis, he has given the Agnya in the Shikshapatri itself to go to the other scriptures within the Sampradaya for more detailed understanding. Now do you see the connection? In the Shikshapatri itself, while he's maintained the most extraordinary connection with the entire Sanatana Dharma, while maintaining that, not destroying that, while maintaining that, he has given Agnya to his own disciples to go to the other scriptures that have been written in the Sampradaya. Of course, he has given Agnya to read the 8 scriptures, or he has said, I accept these 8 scriptures. Those are the 4 Vedas, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Vidur Niti, Vasudeva Mahatma. These are a bunch of them like this. There are 8. Yagyavalkya Smriti. See, Vidur Niti is there. All of these are there. He's accepted that. That's the foundation of the 10,000 year history of Sanatana Dharma. While keeping Lord Krishna in the center, while keeping that Vaishnava worship as the foundation, very clearly written inside the Shikshapatri, while maintaining unitive understanding with the Shaiva tradition also, where he says Narayan and Shiv should be considered one. Think about this. Look at the unification. While giving strict agnyas, which we will get into all of that, the 8-fold brahmacharya and all that stuff that is there, I want to go through it slowly because there's a lot of controversy, and I'm going to try to open it all up, with the grace of Bhagwan. Whatever he wants me to do, I will ask. Hopefully that will be done. So, look at this now. Look at the foundation. He has also shown the exact niyams to follow for all the sadhus, for the acharyas, for the brahmacharis, for the ladies, for the grahasthas, for everybody. Because everybody is in a different stage of life, different roles are there. How to establish the sampradaya properly. That Shikshapatri is for the sampradaya. It is not actually just for the general public. Of course, general public can benefit from Shikshapatri, but those who actually come into the fold of the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, they have to follow what is in the Shikshapatri. The Kanti is given, according to Shikshapatri by the Acharya. That's the way it is written. We'll get to all that also later on. But that is how the Sampradaya was built at that time. There were 6 temples. There were 2 Acharyas, and then there's history behind all that too. So, the way the Sampradaya was built, it was built on the foundation of Sanatana Dharma while keeping the proper connections with Ramanujacharya, Vishishta Advait, with Vaishnava tradition, Vaishnava type of worship, emphasis on Sri Krishna Bhagavan, all of that. So by doing this, what happens is that the people who are part of the Sanatana Hindu Dharma, they can all connect with Swami Sajanand in the most beautiful way. This was the whole point. His ultimate purpose is actually to have people connect with him. Now, this might sound like a crazy thing to say. Like, why is he doing that? Is it the spiritual masters don't connect anybody with them? They connect usually with God, or they don't emphasize themselves. They emphasize others. Well, he hasn't emphasized himself in the Shikshapatri. He's emphasized Lord Krishna very clearly. He could have emphasized himself, but he didn't do that. All right, but he did talk about his own state at times, and that's where this verse in the Shikshapatri towards the end, which says, "Go to the other scriptures," and by going to the other scriptures, you will get a much more depth as well as a much more elaboration on what is in the Shikshapatri. He used the word vistar in that for the elaboration. That means what is in the 212 verses can be understood in a much more greater depth, with much more greater depth. And it's like a key that opens the door into the other scriptures. In the Sampradaya, now he's not referring people to go to other Hindu scriptures. He's accepted those 8 scriptures, and on that basis there's all kinds of teaching that's already there within the Hindu tradition. But on that basis, he is then referring the devotees to go to the other scriptures. Now, if you go to the other scriptures, what you are going to find is a much more in-depth exposition of Vedanta and Swaminarayan's, or Swami Sajanand's teachings, because those are his teachings, his life, his work. That's what those other scriptures are about. Those are in the Sampradaya, like Nishkorananda Kavya, like Bhakta Chintamani, Satsangi Jivan, Vachanamrut is there, of course, Vedras is there, and so many other scriptures were written at that time. Hari Digvijay, there's a lot of, the Paramahansa wrote lots and lots of material. They made thousands and thousands of bhajans and kirtans. All of that was done ultimately with the only one purpose of emphasizing the Swarupa of Swami Sajanand. Because if Maharaj had not written that inside the Shikshapatri to go to the other scriptures, then the worship of Sri Krishna is all he's talking about. And in the other scriptures, now this is where this gets interesting. If you go to the other scriptures like Vachanamrut, for example, where he says in Garada Madhya 13, that he says that the form of God that is inside that divine light, Tejne Visheje Murti Che Eja Pratyaksha Maharaj Che, he says that form of God which is within the light, that divine light, he says that is me. Now, you can interpret this in a lot of different ways. As I mentioned before, this can be interpreted from a devotional point of view, that he is a devotee of Sri Krishna, and that Bhagwan that is inside that light, that is Krishna, that is Purushottam Bhagwan, and he says, I am that because of his devotional oneness. That's one way of looking at that. You can look at that way if you want to, no problem, But now if you go further into the depth of the teachings of Swami Sajanand, what you would find is that he has mentioned about himself as Anadi Mukta. That means he has realization of the Atma even before coming into the womb of the mother. Then at times he has mentioned that he is Krishna himself, or he is an avatar of Krishna, or he is that Krishna that is inside Akshara Brahma or Akshara Dhama, that is beyond Goloka. Even this is mentioned at times. So there are different ways that the word Krishna is used in the scriptures of the Sampradaya. Of course, in Shikshapatri, he has said to worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan. That's Vasudev Devki Nandan Sri Krishna Bhagwan. Yes, that is Ashtakshar Mantra, no problem. That is there. But for further elaboration, if you want to know who is Swami Sajanand, you have to go to the other scriptures and go in depth within that. Otherwise, if somebody doesn't want to do that, then stay with the Shikshapatri. Then what will happen is that they will worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan and consider Maharaj as their guru or as their Sadguru. My personal point of view, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. What will happen, the kind of mukti one will get will be of Golok. This is the whole idea. This is a transcendental idea. To even understand this, if you go through the 1,000 publications plus 1,000 plus publications of the Gaudiya Vaishnav Parampara known as Hare Krishna movement, which is all throughout the world right now, if you go through that entire series of scriptures that they have, then you can understand what Shikshapatri is about. You see, because Seva Muktisya Gamyatam in the Golok Dham, that in the Golok Dham, to worship Sri Krishna Bhagwan is mukti. This is what the Vaishnavas teach. So the Shikshapatri is a Vaishnava scripture essentially, because Maharaj is in the form of a Vaishnava devotee, Bhakta, Sadguru, almost like a Goswami, almost like that. Although that word is not used for him, but that is like in that kind of role essentially. So when he is mentioning to go to the other scriptures, now here's the interesting point. These other Swaminarayan scriptures like Vachanamrut and Satsangi Jivan and Bhakta Chintamani and all that, by going to those other scriptures, who is Swami Sajanand can be known there. And there are 6 or 7 viewpoints on that, even in those other scriptures. Because this was a matter of development. With the advent of Sajanand Swami, there were different kinds of understanding from that time. Some considered him as a great yogi. Some considered him as a great guru, as a great sadguru. Some considered him as a siddha purush. Some considered him as an avatara. Some considered him as just like Dattatreya and Kapil Dev Ji and great manifestations of God. Some considered him as Bhagwan Ram or Bhagwan Krishna. Some considered him as beyond all of these as the supreme fountainhead of all incarnations because of the Samadhi Prakaran that was done. So you will find all of this kind of thing inside these Swaminarayan scriptures. And even today there's a lot of controversy within the Sampradaya about this also. And then there's further controversies about Akshara Brahma and whatnot. So we'll get to all that later on. The point is that Shikshapatri is a direct Agnya of Swami Sajanand. Now this is just my viewpoint, and I'm going to give you my viewpoint on this and see what you think about this. I'm asking you to have your own perspective, as I mentioned before. My viewpoint on this is that Agnya given by Swami Sajanand to go to the other scriptures in the Sampradaya, that Agnya is not to be used to nullify the remainder of the Shikshapatri. I actually heard one individual, I will not say who that was, somebody within the Sampradaya I had heard many years back. That individual said that this verse and one other verse where one can take the highest form of Krishna, you can use those two verses and nullify the whole Shikshapatri. Now folks, is that why Swami Sajanand wrote those two verses? He wrote two verses where he says, go to the other Swaminarayan scriptures or other scriptures in the Sampradaya. That's point number one for further elaboration. The second thing that he had written also in there is that take the Utkrushta Shabda, meaning the highest way Krishna is described, take those words. So, yes, that is understood. But see, even that idea of taking the highest words can be applied to Srimad Bhagavatam. Because in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is described in different ways also. There's a couple of verses where he's described as a supreme lord, but there's other verses where he's described as a Amsha avatar and some Kala avatar and some other ways that he's described also. As an avatar of Bhuma Purush and things like this are also described in there. So when Swami Sajanand is saying to take the highest words where Krishna is described, he is saying that in terms of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, like that, to emphasize Lord Krishna. This is one point. This is one way of looking at this. But if you connect this verse with that verse, the other verse that says go to the other scriptures in the Sampradaya, that opens the door into the way Krishna, the word Krishna is used in the Swaminarayan scriptures, and that's like a way to open this door into who is Swami Sajanand from a tattvic point of view, from a tattva gnan point of view. Right? So I hope this is clear. This gets a little bit tricky sometimes. Now on this basis, let me ask you a question. Are these two verses to be used to nullify the rest of the Shikshapatri? Or to modify it, to change it, to twist it? Is that its purpose? Ask yourself this question. See, there's also another interesting verse here. The interesting verse in the Shikshapatri, it says, according to life circumstances, Desh Kal Kriya Sang, these rules can be modified. There's some modification. The only real exception to the modification is the eating of non-vegetarian food. He said that even in very difficult circumstances, do not eat non-vegetarian food. But other than that, there is a verse in there, in the Shikshapatri, that gives some flexibility to these rules based on certain circumstances. But that doesn't mean that flexibility has to just be kept like that and not go back to the Agnya of the Shikshapatri. That flexibility is given only in very difficult, strange situations. And in my life, that also has happened in the past, which I'll explain in some other recordings. But leaving all that aside, that flexibility that has given by Swami Sajanand in the Shikshapatri for certain kinds of modifications in the Agnya. That is only when there are difficult circumstances, and then when those circumstances are gone, you come right back to the Agnya of the Shikshapatri. This is my understanding. Whoever wants to believe what they want to believe, that's up to them. But this is my opinion. I'm just giving you my opinion. You should form your own opinion and your own study. But my opinion is that verses from the Shikshapatri, like the ones I just mentioned about going to the other scriptures, scriptures in the Sampradaya, taking the highest words, highest way Krishna is described, using that to nullify the rest of the Shikshapatri or to twist it, that is not acceptable to me. As an independent outside researcher, I think that anybody who is doing that is not following Shikshapatri. There's no way that anybody can say that we're actually following Shikshapatri. To follow Shikshapatri means that the Ashtakshar mantra must be chanted without break. It must be chanted. It doesn't mean you don't chant Swaminarayan mantra. But the not chanting the Ashtakshar mantra is a violation of the Shikshapatri. Bottom line, that's it. It's just like saying in the Shikshapatri, Maharaj said, don't eat meat, don't drink alcohol, don't gamble, don't steal. Right? These niyams are there right from after shlok number 11. Now, if I, through my own understanding, if I want to continue to drink alcohol and do different things and say, you know what, I can modify this, I can take the Shikshapatri and twist it in such a way so that I can actually show the opposite meaning, that I can drink, no problem. That I can, do all kinds of things that is apart from this. And then after doing all that, still say that I'm following Shikshapatri. I think that is really just unacceptable, And look, those who are not following the Ashtakshar mantra simply should say openly, we don't want to follow this. Why they're not saying that? They can simply say, we don't want to follow this Agnya, we're not going to follow this Agnya. That's all. We want to follow Swaminarayan mantra, which is okay. There's nothing wrong in doing that. But this is my opinion, that at least 1 mala, 2 malas, 3 malas, 10 malas, 11 malas, whatever it might be, of Ashtakshar mantra should be done. Because that is the Agnya of Swami Sajanand. That maintains the connection with the Sanatana Dharma. But if you don't maintain that connection, and we do Swaminarayan mantra, and then on top of that to literally throw out Sri Krishna Bhagwan completely, this is just not acceptable by any standard, not to me. And no wonder there's so much criticism and so much outcry and so many problems are there, because of this reason. Is there any reason to do this actually? It's damaging to the Sampradaya. It's damaging to the devotees who are actually within the Sampradaya, and is damaging to the people outside the Sampradaya also. This is not necessary. Just following the Agnya of the Shikshapatri is good enough. You see? And then on that basis, to follow whichever interpretation one may have. You see, but to destroy the foundation is not acceptable. By any standard, it is not acceptable. And that will then lead to fanaticism. It will lead to groupism. It will lead to further disconnection with Sanatana Dharma. It will lead to creation of even new scriptures and new ideas that are more and more different from the Shikshapatri. And when that happens, a new religion is born. This is what happened with Jainism. And I love Jainism. Jainism is wonderful. I have love for everybody. Yeah, I'm not saying this out of any disrespect for anyone. But the way Jainism separated from Hinduism is like this. Even Sikhism separated from the Sanatana Dharma this way. And because they want to do that, so they do that. There's freedom of religion. Do what you want. Who cares, right? But if you're talking about the teachings of Swami Sajanand, he has given this 212 verses specifically to prevent the disconnection from the Sanatana Dharma. There's no need to violate anything in Shikshapatri. None at all. And on that basis, one can then understand the Mahima of what is Purushottam, what is Akshar Brahma, what is Akshardham, what is Golok Dham, what are the Muktas. Those things are all described by Gopalan Swami, Gunaditanand Swami, the Paramahansas who spoke, this written in the scriptures during the time of Maharaj, those are further elaborations. That is greater Vedantic depth, high level spirituality. But you cannot take that highest level of spirituality and use that to violate use that to nullify the Shikshapatri. You know what this is like? This is like someone who is in a postdoctoral mathematics program at, let's say, at Harvard University. And now you've got a whole lot of people studying postdoctoral studies. Let's say you have 100 people studying that. Now, obviously, in their office, they're not going to keep, an arithmetic book or an algebra book. I don't think they're going to do that, or a geometry book. They might. There's no reason for them not to, but they're so much beyond all of that they're not going to be studying 1 + 1 and 2 + 2 and algebra and geometry and arithmetic, and they're not going to do that because they have gone way beyond that. But even though they have gone beyond that, whatever they have gone beyond, the original foundational mathematics is there in what they're studying. If they're doing postdoctoral research on mathematics, the foundation of algebra and geometry and calculus and trigonometry, all that foundation is there to get to that postdoctoral level. What has happened today in the Sampradaya, this is my opinion, with tremendous love I'm saying this to everybody, that what has happened today in the 40 branches, most of the 40 branches, if not all of them, are talking about this high-level spirituality that is described in many parts of the Vachanamrut, in the scripture known as Swaminarayan, Gopalan Swaminarayan, various teachings of Paramahansas. There's so much of that kind of high-level metaphysics. Extremely high-level metaphysics is there, or ontological metaphysics, we can even say, or Vedantic metaphysics at extremely esoteric and extremely deep levels. That stuff that is at the very highest and most intricate levels, as even per Shikshapatri, go to the other scriptures in the Sampradaya to understand the greater depth in this. That higher level stuff is being used to break the foundation of the Shikshapatri at times. That is totally unacceptable. And anybody tries to do that, they will be literally breaking themselves in that process. Because you can't break the foundation of the Shikshapatri. That foundation is there. It's a solid foundation to make sure that the higher level of Vedantic teachings of Jeev, Ishwar, Maya, Akshar, Brahm, Parabrahm, that intense vision of Vedanta, this Panch Bhed, that can flower out beautifully on the foundation of Shikshapatri. But the moment Shikshapatri is put on the side, that higher level Vedanta is not going to open up. What will happen, in fact, fanaticism will develop. Lack of understanding will develop. Groupism will develop. And not only that, there will be sectarianism. It will not be the actual opening into the Vedanta. You see, it's not that. It will be something different. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you look at Shree Bhasya of Sri Ramanujacharya, there is a tremendous amount of disagreement with Shankaracharya in that. But if, in theory, Ramanujacharya and Shankaracharya were to meet with each other, there would be only love, and they would prostrate down to each other. I guarantee that would happen. Even though they disagree completely, Shankaracharya propagated Advaita Vedanta. It's a very big topic, very big subject to study. And it's a great realization also. And Shriji Maharaj has even accepted that in a different way, which I'll talk about. And Ramanujacharya has disagreed with Advaita Vedanta on so many points. And why Vishishtadvaita? And why Sajanand Swami accepted Vishishtadvaita? Even though there is that disagreement, think of it this way. Ramanujacharya could not have written Shree Bhasyam Without Shankaracharya's Advaita Vedanta, the Advaita Vedanta was needed for Ramanujacharya to write the Sri Bhashyam. Ramanujacharya's Sri Bhashya and Vishishtadvaita viewpoint is needed for Swami Sajanand to take that further and say there is even more development in this about Akshara Brahman, Parabrahman, Ishwar Koti, and Ishwar has 3 bodies. And these things that are in the Vachanamrut, they're extremely high level metaphysics. Beyond the universe, beyond, it's trans-universal. And these things are now being debated in the general community. And what has happened here is that the general population, the Hindu population, has no understanding of this, very little, if any. Most people are trapped in their families with regards to conflicts, family conflicts. 99% of Hindus are trapped in family conflicts. There's no chance for anybody to get mukti because of those family conflicts. Until those family conflicts resolve, this high-level Vedanta becomes only what? A matter of debate, and it becomes a matter of discussion, and it becomes a matter of division. And that is not what Swami Sajanand is trying to show you, or trying to show me. Please understand this point. Otherwise, what will happen? Otherwise, as the years go by, new different ideologies will keep coming up, and more disconnection with the original Sanatana Dharma will occur. And that must not happen under any circumstances. What is called Swaminarayan Sampradaya or Uddhav Sampradaya is a further development of Shree Sampradaya. I don't even like to say it is an offshoot. It is a further development, that's all. I mean, for example, Newton came, and then Einstein came afterwards. Einstein took what was in Newton's understanding, understood Newton thoroughly, and had a further vision. Now, it might seem like, Einstein is contradicting Newton. It's not that he's contradicting Newton. He is taking Newton's ideas and developing them further, giving new light to them. So something new has come about. What Newton was saying is not wrong, but it's not completely correct also. What Einstein is saying is not wrong, but it's not completely correct also. There's new theories now in physics. So it's a continual development. And again, the point here with regards to spirituality is that this is a matter of introspective, subjective experience. You see, this point is written in Vachanamrut Sarangpur 10, where Swami Sajanand, he says that through antardrashti, through internal vision, one recognizes that the entire spiritual reality of Goloka, Vaikuntha, Aksharadhama, the Atma, all these things, Brahmand and all, it is all within you. He said, Anumatra Chetunati in Gujarati. He's written, it's right, you're right there. But the way he has described antardrashti, he said, he always used in Vachanamrut this expression, pragat and pratyaksh, that what you are trying to search on the inside, within your internal space, that God that is sitting inside of you, which you don't know, that is manifested on the outside. That is why he's using Pragat Krishna, Pragat Purushottam, all these words are used all the time in the Vachanamrut. Right? Because it's a human manifestation form, human form. And that human form, to recognize that as divine, is what Madhya 13 is all about. We'll talk about that later on sometime. But my point only right now, here, is that the resolution to these controversies regarding the Swaminarayan Sampradaya and the Sanatana Dharma can be done this way. The 40 organizations, this is my recommendation to them. They can do what they want. I'm not the owner of those organizations. They have different gurus, different heads, different committees, and whatever they have. They can do whatever they want to do. It's not for me to tell anybody what to do, or I cannot make anybody do anything. But it is my prayer to everyone to not break the foundation of the Shikshapatri. Maharaj said he accepts Panch Devata, they Pujya che, in Gujarati, they're Pujya. That is Bhagwan Vishnu, Bhagwan Shiv, Mata Parvati, Ganesh Ji, and Surya Narayan. Keep these 5 Pujya. Keep these 5 images in the homes. Swaminarayan devotees should keep these 5 images in the homes. But there is so much emphasis, or has been in the past, on removing all these things in the name of Shuddha Upasana. Do you know what that is like? And look, that also has a psychological purpose for Ishta Bhakti, for developing your deeper connection with God. Understood. But that is not what Swami Sajanand taught. He didn't say to discard all of this and to keep the attention on him or whatever interpretation people have. He says use that as a foundation. Keep that as puja. It doesn't mean to discard it completely. That's not the case. And the glory of the five devatas is tremendous. It's beyond our understanding. We cannot even imagine what that is. So that must not be discarded. Keep that as a foundation. Ashtakshar mantra should be done by everybody. Why not? What is the problem in that? That is not going to cause any kind of damage to any upasana. And also those who have gone to the other Swaminarayan scriptures and have gone through that whole process and are worshipping Swami Sajanand does not mean to violate the Shikshapatri. It does not mean to stop chanting the Ashtakshar mantra. It does not mean to completely give up the connection with the Sanatana Dharma. It doesn't mean to stop reading the Bhagavad Gita. It means, yes, read Pancham Skand, Dasam Skand. From that, there is bhakti of Krishna. Now, here's what's interesting. This is how this can be done. The way to resolve all this, in my opinion, is that those who are dedicated and devoted to Bhagavan Swaminarayan in the 40 organizations now can view Sri Krishna in that is as an avatar, and you can view Krishna that way without violating the tenets of the Shikshapatri, and follow exactly what is written. And based on that other verse of going to the other scriptures, one can do upasana of Swami Sajanand, no problem in that, without damaging the foundation of the Shikshapatri. That is how this linkage can be maintained. But there's so much emphasis on showing how Bhagavan Swaminarayan, Swami Sajanand is Sarvopari, etc., that this foundation is damaged. There's no need to damage the foundation. You can show, based on whichever interpretation you have in the different organizations, what the connections are and what the foundation is from your point of view, but not to damage the foundation. It's like saying somebody who's in the postdoctoral studies, or doctoral education, highly esoteric, high level of study is there, and they say, you know what, nobody from our group who is in the postdoctoral studies is to ever open a trigonometry book or to open a differential equation book, because that's too low for us. We're not going to open that even. Does that make any sense to you? This is what has been going on many times within the Sampradaya, unfortunately. And that has caused a lot of criticism. In fact, what has happened, there are thousands and thousands of people who could have been brought into the proper connection with Swami Sajanand through the Shikshapatri if this was done properly. And because it was not done in the right way, there has been so much damage done, in fact. Families have been split apart. Groups have been created. Massive criticism has been there, because the proper connection with Shikshapatri is not maintained. Of course, each organization has their own viewpoint. There are tremendous organizations right now in Swaminarayan. But like I said, those things are further developments. And then if you bring somebody from the outside and just put that person inside that organization, that person doesn't have the proper connection. It's like taking somebody who's studying algebra or geometry and putting them in that postdoctoral class. And then all those people, what they're talking about, that person is not going to know what that is. There's the internal connection isn't there. And because that internal connection isn't there, then there's a lot of difficulty. And see what happens here in religious organizations. Just anybody and everybody can go. And so so many people go to Swaminarayan temples throughout the world. But if you were to ask most of the people who are not the actual devotees of Swaminarayan what this is all about, they don't have any idea. And they have very little idea. They don't understand it. They don't understand what the connections are. You see, so this is my perspective. It is incumbent upon everybody within the 40 branches now to stay with the Shikshapatri. Don't destroy that foundation. Some people in this sampradaya also say that the Shikshapatri, what is Shikshapatri? That's just a small thing, That's just a minor thing. That's just something Maharaj wrote at that time because, people were worshipping Krishna and they didn't understand his Swarup and all that. It's not like that. That is not true, actually. I mean, there might be some truth to that, but the actual truth behind that is that Maharaj himself is embodying the entire Sanatana Dharma process within himself as a devotee, as a bhakta, as a sadhak, as a guru, as a sadguru, and then those who want to believe as an avatar, as an avatari. All these things are there, but the proper background has to be there. And this is not an ordinary thing. I mean, if you look at the Shikshapatris, this word Golok, for example, do you know what is Golok? People say, "Oh, we believe in Akshardham, but we don't want to go to Golok. We want to go to Akshardham." You think if you look at the criteria that is written in the Swaminarayan scriptures about Akshardham, anybody who is watching even TV for even 5 minutes a day and has those images inside their mind, and those images pop up when you are doing continuous dhyan of the Murti of Bhagwan, that is Maya. And any desire other than God will throw one back straight into the sansar. Forget about Golok and Badrikashram and Akshardham. Those things are way beyond. This sansar is such a massive jail. To get out of this thing is the most important thing. These are high-level distinctions between Golok and Akshardham and what that is. These are just words we have heard. They're just words, and people are debating based on things that they have not seen. For example, those who are studying in the Algebra 1 class, you take 100 students studying Algebra 1, and now you place them all inside this postdoctoral education classes inside Harvard University or some other place like that. And now they start debating with each other about those topics that are being discussed, or the books that are there beyond differential equations. I don't even know what those books are called. There's some extremely high level books in mathematics, and they start reading those books and they start debating on that. People studying Algebra 1. Does that make any sense? Are they going to get anywhere with that? That is what is happening today. That is what has happened in the past. That is what is happening today. Also, that you take something like Vachanamrut, you take Swamini Vato, you take Gopalan Swamini Vato, you take just these 3 scriptures, and take Vedaras, for example. You take these 3 or 4 really intense, high-level Tattva Gnan scriptures, written in Gujarati, no doubt. But what they're talking about is something way beyond anybody's understanding. And one has to be completely clean from inside the heart, inside the mind. There cannot be any disturbance of any kind. That is the role of the Satpurush and Guru, to clean up all this mess, actually. Within the Antakarana. As if you look at the great sages that are there today in the Sampradaya, all of them are teaching how to clean up this internal mess because they know that's what has to be cleaned up. But there's so many other people interested in debating these high-level metaphysical ideas about Golok and Akshardham and Shwedvip, and that stuff is for those whose consciousness has gone beyond the Agnya Chakra and beyond the Sahasrara Chakra. It is beyond that. If you go through Gopalan Swamini Vato, it's a scripture called Gopalan Swamini Vato. There are 3 chapters, 3 prakarans, they're called, only 3. It has the most incredible level of spiritual realization. Things are written inside there that if you have gone through 1,000 scriptures of the Vaishnavas, if you go through 1,000 scriptures of the Shaiva tradition, you go through thousands of high-level Adhyatmic scriptures from the entire Hindu tradition, that all is encompassed within 3 or 4 lines of Gopalan Swamini Vato. Think about this. Now, are we at that level to understand? It's not that we shouldn't understand also. We can read those things, but we cannot destroy the foundation of the Shikshapatri. It makes no sense to do that. And Sajanand Swami has used the most integrated approach that I have ever seen. The Shikshapatri itself shows this tremendous integration. It is a tremendous integration. The entire Shaiva Parampara is actually shown in the Shikshapatri. The entire Vaishnava Parampara is shown. The Devi Upasana, that is called Shakta Parampara, that is shown. That Shakta Parampara is shown just in the first word only. That is Vame Yasya Stita Radha. That itself is a code to the Shakti Upasana, which people nobody understands that point. I can almost guarantee you that nobody's even talked about that. But I'm going to talk about it in some future recordings. The Vishnu Upasana is clear. Maharaj has given Agnya that read the Vishnu Sahasranam. Hanumanji Upasana, which is Bhagwan Ram Upasana. That is also there. Do the Hanuman Mantra, do the Narayan Kavach for protection. Look at the synthesis. Acceptance of all the avatars that have come. The highest level of brahmacharya, highest level of purification. So purification is emphasized all the way through. Even family issues and social relations, these things are talked about, like how widows can act and how they can live. Even somebody becomes a widow. I mean, yes, he said to consider Bhagwan Krishna as the husband, to worship God. His entire point is get rid of all of the attachments from this world that we are living in and keep your attention on God, Bhagwan. That's it's the essence of the whole thing. You see, but the way the Sampradaya is developing now, and it's a tremendous development. I mean, it's grown to such a level that it is now time. This is just my opinion. Sitting here in Newark, Delaware, it's just literally me and Bhagwan, and that's all there is. There's nothing else even around here right now. It's just the two of us. That it is time to synthesize and to cross-connect with the Sanatana Dharma in the best way possible, using the profound knowledge of Shikshapatri. And look, there are very learned saints and sages in the Sampradaya who can do this. They can do it. They can really synthesize this together. Doesn't mean everybody has to agree together. Synthesis doesn't mean complete agreement. It means diversity. Diversity of opinion and thought is necessary. And on that basis, each organization can show their depth. But my prayer to everyone is to connect with Shikshapatri. Don't destroy that foundation. If you destroy that foundation, then what will happen is that a completely different type of understanding will develop, and it will become a different religion. It will create dislike. It can create hatred. It can create so many problems. So that should not happen. That is my wish. So, and I'm not part of any group as such. I have a lot of study of Swami Sajanand and a lot of love and affection, obviously. But I just don't want to see the fracturing with the Sanatana Dharma, because if that happens, that will be damaging to families. See, I'm actually a social scientist also from background. And the one thing, we must not do is damage families. Families have gotten damaged because of these misunderstandings. You cannot take extremely high level Vedantic metaphysics and ontology and high level of extreme of these differences that are in the spiritual worlds, like difference between Shvetdvip and Vaikuntha and Goloka and Akshara Brahma and Akshardham. These things, you cannot take them and cause division within society, which leads to dislike and hatred and problems, which I mentioned before. I mean, even if you look at the Vaishnava literature, they definitely consider Bhagwan Shiva only as a devotee. But that's their viewpoint. If you look at the Shaiva tradition, they consider Shiva as the ultimate. Then nothing is beyond Shiva. That's their viewpoint. If you look at the Shakti Upasana, they consider the goddess Devi as the final reality. And there are thousands of scriptures and mantras behind all of these things. If you look at Swaminarayan tradition, most of the people in Swaminarayan tradition, if not all of them, considered Swaminarayan Bhagwan as the ultimate reality, as the ultimate form of God. So that is called Ishta Bhakti. There's nothing wrong with Ishta Bhakti. I mean, those who are Christians consider Jesus Christ, the whole and soul. That's how they progress. That's good. But particularly as far as Swami Sajanand's Shikshapatri is concerned, again, I'm saying this, and I'm sorry for saying it over and over again, but that foundation must not be damaged. The moment that foundation is damaged, there is massive trouble. And in many Swaminarayan temples, if not all, there is images of Radha and Krishna. That's a very good thing. Many of the temples now have Shiv Parvati, also very good thing. Ganeshji Hanumanji is there. But some Swaminarayan temples don't have Radha Krishna. They don't have Shiv Parvati. They don't have Ganeshji Hanumanji. They only have Ghansham Maharaj, or they only have Swaminarayan Bhagwan. I mean, that's up to them. They can do what they want. I cannot make anybody do anything. But again, there is more tendency to disconnect with the Sanatana Dharma. In an attempt to emphasize Swami Sajanand, to de-emphasize Sanatana Dharma is not necessary. You want to bolster the connection with Sanatana Dharma, and on that basis show how tremendous Swami Sajanand is. So this is my vision also. My mission is that also. In the Energy and Personal Excellence program, I'm emphasizing the what is called Ekantik Dharma, because Dharma, Gnana, Vairagya, Bhakti, these things are universal. They are for the whole of humanity. How energy is not to be damaged. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. But these are my thoughts on this as a continuing exploration about some of the controversies and how to resolve them. We are so interested in continuing controversy after controversy, continuing division, continuing this type of difference of opinion. There's so much energy that generates that way out of conflict. Why not spend time to connect with Shikshapatri properly? Even if there are disagreements, even if there are different interpretations, so what? Let's not damage the foundation upon which the entire sampradaya is built, because that Shikshapatri is a connector. It's like a plug, that connects with this 10,000 year history. And if we throw that plug away, we are going to be in some different track altogether, and that track is not a good track. That track is divisive. That track will lead to fanaticism. That track leads to, in Gujarati it's called Kattarvad. That track leads to a massive level of misunderstanding because the foundation is not maintained. So much more about all this later on. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.